Today, we are going to talk about why we tend to repeat the same things over and over. So I'm gonna give some context here. So we've been doing this podcast for over 5 years, I believe now, and we're like, I don't know, 3,000 episodes in, something like that, probably like 2,000 plus. But sometimes we'll get comments from people saying like, oh, they're just repeating the same things, or like, the podcast used to be so good or whatever. But we want to use this podcast to address it, and hopefully this will guide how you produce your content, because at the end of the day, like, if you are building something for the long term, you're going to find that you are going to repeat some of the same things. So Neil, you want to start first?
Yeah, my big reason why we repeat a lot of stuff is actually one thing: it's focus. If you look at a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs out there, they focus quite a bit. And they once asked Warren Buffett and Bill Gates to write down on a piece of paper was one of the number one reasons for their success, and they both wrote down on the paper the same thing: pretty much focus. And when you repeat the same thing over and over again, one, it emphasizes what you should focus on, but two, what you'll find is when you hear something the first time, a lot of people don't actually take action. Think about how much advice you've gone over the years and how many times you've actually implemented what the advice you've given on, even when you think it's amazing. The chances are majority of the time you don't implement what you hear, even if you think it's amazing. So the purpose of repeating is, so A, you take action, and B, you focus on what's important, and you just continually double down on it, because that's what's going to drive results. You don't need to do things that are cool and sexy. And a prime example of this is, yesterday I was doing a podcast interview with someone, and we're talking about blockchain technology. And blockchain technology is great, but there's no reason that blockchain technology needs to be integrated in most companies at this moment, because most consumers aren't ready to adapt it. Does it mean blockchain sucks? No. It's something that you shouldn't focus on right now for most businesses, and you should worry about the fundamentals.
Yep. And, on this podcast, I think most people will notice that I tend to like look at the latest trends, and I'll talk about a lot of new stuff fairly quickly. A lot of times, most of the time I think I'm bringing it to Neil, and sometimes Neil bring me some new stuff. I think that's generally correct. But what I found over the years is that sometimes the lessons, even though we repeat the same things, it'll hit differently. And so, for example, like if someone will say, Eric, like it's all about, friends and family, like, at a different stage in my life, that might mean, not much. And then in this stage of my life, it means everything. Same to Neil, right? And so it just depends on the stage of your business when we're talking about our experiences, or maybe we might be sharing advice. When you think about SEO, a lot of it fundamentally hasn't changed. If you think about the content game, fundamentally it hasn't changed. It's all about creating helpful content. It's about creating useful content. And ideally, taking a page from Mr. Beast, it's creating the best content that you can create, right? We just repeat what's worked for us mainly. We try to repeat things from experience. And in some cases, we'll try to we'll correct ourselves as well, right? But in general, if you find us saying the same things over and over, and if you listen to this podcast from the very beginning and we're still repeating the same things, that means it's probably true. And the longer something sticks around, that means it's more Lindy. And Lindy means like the longer something, like let's say if a book has been around for 100 years, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's probably going to be relevant for the next 100 years as well. So think about that. It's really a lot of the stuff is a lot of the blocking and tackling. It's the fundamental building blocks to building something great. And then maybe at the very top, you look at it as a pyramid. Maybe at the very top, you can try all the new things, take some risk off the top. But at the very bottom, you have to have the fundamentals. We want you to get those right.
So now you got it. This is why we repeat stuff, and make sure you focus.
All right. That is it for today. Please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. And if you find us repeating the same things over and over and you're not doing those things, maybe you just got to do those things. And then come back to us and let us know how that went. So that is it for today, and catch you later.